evening and welcome to the 606th episode of Travel Itch. I'm Dan Schlossberg and we are in the 14th season of Travel Itch Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair. Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travel Itch. Our guest today is Kelly Zaney, Senior Vice President of Education and Exhibitions at the Illinois Holocaust Museum. Welcome, Kelly, to the new video version of Travel Itch.
Amazing. Thanks, Dan, for having me.
This is a very timely interview because the Illinois Holocaust Museum is about to open a downtown Chicago location on August 26th. What is the new museum called and where is it located?
Yeah, so really exciting. Our new museum is Illinois Holocaust Museum Presents Experience 360. We are in the heart of downtown Chicago at 360 North State on the corner of State Street and Kinsey.
What are the main features of the Chicago Museum? I know it has a reality theater, a gallery detailing both the Holocaust and stories of survival, and a timeline that traces the chronological evolution of the genocide.
Yeah, so we have a number of galleries and experiences throughout the Experience 360 downtown presentation, including, as you mentioned, our Carcomi Family Foundation Holocaust of World War II gallery that really explores the key events that were pivotal between 1933 and 1945, but also throughout interweaves a number of stories of local survivors, witnesses, and liberators. We have our virtual reality theater where visitors can experience our 360-degree survivor-based virtual reality films, our holography theater, which I know we're going to talk a little bit about, where you can engage in a one-on-one conversation with a Holocaust or genocide survivor, as well as our special exhibition, Stories of Survival, Object Image Memory, which uses photography and the memory of not only survivors of the Holocaust, but other genocides and conflicts across the globe and the objects that they took with them as refugees coming to the United States and the stories behind each of those objects.
Does the museum talk about the Holocaust in general or focus on survivors who moved to Chicago or Illinois specifically?
That's a great question. It's a little bit of both. So the museum not only focuses on the history and lessons of the Holocaust, but we also explore other global genocides. And you will in particular see with our Stories of Survival exhibition that we talk about the experiences of survivors of genocides from Rwanda and Armenia, Guatemala, and Burma. And in fact, one of our new interactive holograms and interviews that will premiere for the first time at the Experience 360 site will be that of Kizito Kalima, who's a 1994 Tutsi survivor of the Rwandan genocide.
Did any of the area residents have unusual experiences such as joining Schindler's List?
It's so, yes, but it's really hard to pick which one to talk about here. But I think just a quick highlight, you'll be able to learn about the experiences of Barbara Steiner and Estelle Laughlin, both these incredible women who were teenagers, ultimately settled here in the Chicagoland area, but were fighters in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, which you're highlighting here, a gallery. We have Jerry Glass, who was a local Chicagoan who as a teenager enlists in the Marines and ultimately is part of the unit that helps liberate Mauthausen. So there's a lot of different experiences of survivors, as you had asked before, that settled in Chicago land area, but also have really fascinating experiences that I think a lot of people may not be familiar with.
Why is the new location named Experience 360? Does it have anything to do with the way the story is presented?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a little bit of play on words, right? So Experience 360, it's our address, 360 North State, but it also really is a panoramic view through history and truth and justice and hope and resilience, 360 view through virtual reality, 360 experience through our holography interviews, as well as the 360, what we're hoping is a 360 experience and a transformation of the lessons of hope and humanity that you take from your experience here.
How much time should a visitor allow to see the Chicago Museum?
So a visitor should allow ideally about 90 minutes to 2 hours, but you could definitely still get a taste of what we offer within 60 minutes or less.
And how long will the Skokie Museum be out for renovations?
So the Skokie Museum currently is under major renovations and will be closed through the summer of 2026. We'll reopen.
Okay. And for those who don't know, could you please explain what happened in Skokie? I remember there was a big to-do
Oh,
with
yeah.
Nazi marchers there.
Yeah, it's kind of our organization's origin story, as we call
Wow.
it. So, in the 1970s, Skokie was home to actually one of the world's largest populations of Holocaust survivors per capita. Around 7,000 survivors of the Holocaust lived in Skokie, when at the time a group of neo-Nazis petitioned a number of towns and villages in the area to hold a march. And there was only one village that responded back saying, "No way, you aren't marching here," and that was Skokie. And ultimately, what it became was the catalyst for the survivor community. Many of us know, right? It became an issue of free speech and the right to assemble. It was a case that went all the way to the Supreme Court, but it was a catalyst really for survivors across the world. But particularly the local survivors here who realized that if these neo-Nazis could try to march in a country in which they thought they were free, that not enough people knew about the Holocaust, education about the Holocaust, and founded our parent organization at the time. And what's really great about that story is that it really talks about like the resilience and strength of survivors afterwards and the fight. To raise awareness about what happened to them and the lessons of the Holocaust. And it's a story that we actually do tell at Experience 360 to orient visitors to that kind of beginning story of the museum.
Okay. Well, here, the Pain of Survival. That was a special program you had, I think, right? Or is it coming? No, it was past
A
program.
couple of years ago, yeah.
Okay. We're talking with Kelly Zaney of the Illinois Holocaust Museum. How does your Survivor Stories Theater present interviews? Are there movies or videotapes with recorded testimony?
So our Survivor Stories Theater is our holographic interview experience. So it presents holographic displays of survivors who, from the Holocaust, and again, as I mentioned, Kizito from the 94 genocide in Rwanda, who through the wonder of non-generative artificial intelligence, were recorded in a way in which they were asked thousands and thousands of questions, and a visitor could come in and ask a survivor a question, everything from your life before the Holocaust, after the Holocaust, to do you believe in God, right? What do you think about the world today? And it really creates, I think, an incredible way for visitors to come and connect to the history, create empathy, to connect to the survivor, because you get to ask questions about what you're interested in learning more about.
Experience 360 is designed to promote a panoramic view of history and truths about the Holocaust, but does it also allow viewers to witness stories of survival and ask questions such as how could this happen and can it happen again?
Oh, that's a really great question. Yeah, I think absolutely. I think you cannot help but go through the different experiences presented at Experience 360 and not only ask those questions yourself, but look to try to find those connections or answers in even the Holocaust or World War II gallery, right? Like as you're looking at different pieces of legislation or the conditions or stages that you're going to see that ultimately led to the genocide of millions. But also even just in the VR experiences or in those survivor interactive interviews and the stories that survivors share or the lessons that they talk about. Rhodey Glass, who's featured as our Walk to Vesterbrook VR film, she ends the film talking about how hatred is a useless emotion, that we should lead our lives with love. And I think, in some ways that seems like a simple instruction, but I think is like, kind of a good seed for us to think about how something like this can happen and live our better lives.
How do visitors have conversations with holograms of Holocaust survivors?
Yeah, as I mentioned, so it's a facilitated experience. So you're in our Survivor Stories Theater, which seats about 55 to 60 people. And through essentially voice recognition technology, if any of us are familiar with Siri, it allows a visitor to ask a question, and the the answers that the software pulls up are keyword based. And so it pulls up a video clip of that survivor answering that question matched with the keyword that the survivor connects to with the visitor.
Okay, tell us about the virtual reality films developed in partnership with the USC Shoah Foundation. We understand people can see 3 interactive interviews.
Yep. So our interactive or holographic interviews were developed in partnership with USC Shoah Foundation and USC Libraries and Digital Repositories. Our 360-degree virtual reality films, those were developed not only by the museum, but in partnership with a VR production company called East City Films out of London. And that really allows visitors to take an immersive 360 virtual reality journey through the hometowns, concentration camps, places of hiding, while, if you will, kind of walking along, the rail tracks and arrival ramps at Birkenau and other sites with the survivors as they're sharing their story.
Is USC University of Southern California?
Yes, University of Southern California. Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to be sure, because C could stand for something in Chicago too. So just wanted to be sure.
Yes, no, appreciate it.
Okay, your new Chicago location features the survivor of a genocide beyond the Holocaust. You mentioned he's a Tutsi who survived the Rwandan genocide of 1994. Do you feel his inclusion provides powerful insights into resilience and recovery and makes visitors aware genocide can occur anywhere at any time to anyone?
Oh, fantastic question. I think absolutely. And I think what you come away listening to Kizito, understanding, I think that the common conditions that you see amongst genocide, right? That it has happened across geography, it's happened across time, that while the experiences in the place may be unique, the commonalities are the same: dehumanization, propaganda, loss of family. But I also think, again, what you see as remarkable, as you point out, right, that in surviving, that they are sharing their stories and they have hope for humanity. And I think that it's that hope that's really contagious as the visitor to lean on while experiencing these interactives.
Kelly, you got to explain what those things are that look like. Is that supposed to be lanterns, torches?
So as part of the architecture of so this is our Skokie building, these are actually representative of the last 2 towers of the Temple of Solomon, Yakim and Boaz, and they're part of the architectural and Judaic symbolism of our Skokie Museum.
Okay, that I was kind of right, I guess, about that.
Sure.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a bold imaging. So your downtown Chicago branch is designed to bring a bold imaging of how to connect people to the lessons of the past by using the technology of the future. Is that a good description, you think?
Yeah, I think it's a really excellent description, right? The idea that in some ways you have to embrace the technology of now. We need to meet our visitors, particularly young visitors that are coming to us where they are. But you can do it responsibly and you can do it well. And I think most importantly, if you keep the story of the survivor and the power of historical storytelling at the center of that technology, you can create a really powerful experience for everyone.
Is the goal of the Illinois Holocaust Museum to prevent another Holocaust by exposing the horrors of the past?
So I think our goal is to use the lessons of the Holocaust to work to prepare people to be aware, not only to work towards the prevention of another genocide. I mean, that's a pretty tall order, but I think to even give them the tools and knowledge of how we can work to advocate for individuals in other countries who may be dehumanized or excluded or whatever it may be, well before, right, that genocide occurred, well before we ultimately get to what we see, the Holocaust. And I think that's one of our goals.
Is it accurate to say that people who come to Experience 360 will actually step into history and engage in personal and interactive ways?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's all in our name, 360. And that means I think it really is such an immersive experience. Again, in the VR, I mean, you feel like you are standing step by step with our survivors in Auschwitz, in Normandy, in these places. And I think even the experience in the galleries, you feel really connected and immersed in this history.
I want to tell our viewers watching Travelitch with Dan Schlossberg. We're in our 14th season, live at 5 New York time every Thursday on LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, X, and Facebook, among others. That's more than a mouthful. We're talking with Kelly Zaney of the Illinois Holocaust Museum. Kelly, tell us about the Shapiro Family Foundation Center and its role in creating the Chicago Satellite Museum.
Yeah, we're so really blessed and lucky by the generosity of the Shapiro family that is not only a creation of supporting our galleries and our theaters, but the building and operations of what we do kind of even outside that. So the educational programming for teachers and students, for law enforcement, and even for the public that we'll be able to conduct at Experience 360.
Okay. Have you been to Israel's Yad Vashem, perhaps the world's foremost Holocaust museum, or other Holocaust museums in the U.S. or overseas? And did you or the designers of the Illinois Holocaust Museum adopt any of their ideas in design and presentation?
That's a really great question. So, yes, I have visited Yad Vashem in Israel, a number of sites in Europe, and museums here in the United States. And our original co-creators of the museum in Skokie, Dr. Michael Berenbaum, who helped with the U.S. Holocaust Museum, Yitzhak Mays, who helped with the original Yad Vashem before Yad Vashem was renovated, collaborated on our Skokie Museum. And so you may see some threads, similar threads, but I think, again, the one thing that really makes us unique is that local story, that Chicago story and focus.
With anti-Semitism rising around the world, including in this country, can the Illinois Holocaust Museum help enlighten American citizens and perhaps make a difference in their attitudes?
I think absolutely. I think we are a place that should be considered, one, as a convener, should be considered a safe space for people to be able to come and ask those really difficult questions, that you asked before, like, can this happen again? Why is this happening? Why are we seeing so much hate and rise of anti-Semitism? And we train our volunteers and our docent guides to be able to have those difficult conversations and connections today. And so I think there's a place for Illinois Holocaust Museum around the table to continue that educational work, because I think the heart of education and understanding what can ultimately happen when we use words to exclude people, to perpetuate hate, is at the grounding of the work that we do. So I think absolutely we have a place in being able to do really that critical work to confront it.
Kelly, what do you say to people who insist Israel is committing genocide in Gaza when it seems like it was the other way around?
So I think it's really important, while historians, legal scholars debate the legality of that word and that definition, that we really need to reflect and pay attention to what is a grave humanitarian crisis on the ground. And ultimately, how can that be addressed, and how can we work to free the hostages and end the war, to create sustaining and lasting peace?
Golda Meir once said, "There will be no peace in the Middle East until the Arabs love their children more than they hate the Jews." Do you agree?
Well, that's not something I'm really prepared to answer, and definitely could focus on more like Holocaust related questions or to the museum.
Okay, your museum originated in Skokie, as we discussed, and you have a large survivor population. Why did all those people come to Skokie?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So Skokie was one of the first suburbs north of the city of Chicago where many survivors had initially settled, that was expanding and growing in the 1950s and shortly after the war. And it was also one of the few northern suburbs that didn't have an anti-Jewish covenants, meaning that Jews were allowed to live there. And it's from there that the survivors settled.
Okay, since World War II ended 80 years ago, why is it important to keep the memory of the Holocaust alive, in your words? And is it because a growing number of Americans, especially young Americans, want to forget about it, ignore it, or don't believe it?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, 80 years isn't that long ago. And I think it's easy, when we look at the Holocaust, we often think about the Holocaust in black and white images and realize that actually it was a full genocide that happened in color. To 3 out of 4 Jews were annihilated during that period of time. And I think ultimately it's a human history, right? It's a history that should be connected and remembered by all of us. And I still think that there's lessons as we look at potentially threats to democracy worldwide today, the rise of anti-Semitism and hatred that still exists. There's still a lot, I think, that we can learn from this history.
Does the Illinois Holocaust Museum plan to keep the Chicago building open after the Skokie building returns?
It's still something we're really looking at. I think what's so exciting about the Chicago location and Experience 360 is that in Skokie, we don't have so much of an opportunity to have that foot traffic and tourists that we're hoping that we can see down here. So we'll see. So come and visit and make it a popular destination.
What is the background of the museum's CEO, Bernard Cherkasov, and how does the museum support itself through public and private funding, admission tickets, sponsorships, or some combination of all those things?
Yeah. So Bernard comes to us as someone who's had a really incredible, long and successful history in the nonprofit world in the Chicagoland community. He's someone who is, I think, a social justice warrior, an advocate, a human rights advocate, and just is someone who I think is a brilliant mind and businessman and fundraiser. And he's been an incredible leader for this museum. And to be able to continue to receive the public and private funding, whether it's from corporations or private and family individuals over the years, has really been an incredible gift to continue our work.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to add?
Just to mention to everyone that we are taking pre-sale reservations for Experience 360. So you can visit our website at www.experience360.org. We're open 7 days a week from 10 to 5 p.m. Last tickets being sold at 4 p.m.
Okay. Are there any other Holocaust museums in the Midwest U.S.?
There are. So there are really fantastic partner organizations. There's a Holocaust Museum in Farmington Hills, Michigan, right outside Detroit. And there's a really great new Holocaust Museum in St. Louis, Missouri, as well as one in Cincinnati, Ohio.
I was surprised at some of the locations where I found them. There's one in Tampa, St. Pete, that's really fantastic.
Oh, the Tampa St. Pete Museum is really fantastic and one of the kind of major regional museums in the country. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're great.
And I've seen them several in New York, Philadelphia area. I mean, the East Coast, certainly, and Washington as a national one. So that's pretty good.
Yes.
How do viewers get more information about the Illinois Holocaust Museum?
So you can visit our website at ilholocaustmuseum.org. To learn more, or just even a great Google search, or going onto our YouTube page and watching and listening to some of our trainings and programs and the great work that we're doing, and encourage you to follow us on social media channels as well.
How big is the staff, Kelly?
So our staff is around 48 individuals. But
Okay.
that does not include, I should mention, as you say, is there anything I should mention? We could not do our work. We could not do our work without the 200 plus volunteers that make everything run and are really the heart of the mission of everything we do.
Understood. Our guest today has been Kelly Zaney of the Illinois Holocaust Museum. Thank you so much for visiting with us on Travel Itch.
Thanks, Dan, for having me. I appreciate it.
And we made it in less than a half hour, so that was good for you. I know.
Good.
I know things are tight with that August 26th date looming large now.
No, I'm so glad we could do this. I appreciate it. And I read the thing that was like, keep your answers short. You got a half an hour. So I tried to be mindful of that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for doing this. And viewers, now that the baseball pennant races are in full swing, this is the perfect time to share the excitement with my latest book, The New Baseball Bible, Notes, Nuggets, Lists, and Legends for National Pastime. Both a bathroom book and a coffee table book. It's an unorthodox illustrated history that is really everything you wanted to know about baseball, but were afraid to ask. That's The New Baseball Bible. Get it today on Amazon.com. That's it for this edition of Travel Itch. This is your host and writer, Dan Schlossberg, saying thank you for your time this time until next time. Next week, we'll head way north to Fairbanks, Alaska, and talk with Jerry Evans. another great show in the offing. Thank you for watching. Good evening and stay safe. And if I can find my music, there it is.